You know what? It is so crazy that characters like Zorro do not get enough recognition nowadays. Now, before I start this video off, let me go ahead and make this clear. I am a huge fan when it comes to Zorro. And it was all because of the fact that I watched this movie back in 2005 when I didn't know anything about the character at all. But I love this movie so much that I pretty much started getting invested in this character. Like, I started reading comic books, I started reading novels, I even read novels that were geared towards young adults. And not only have I been reading all these books and any book about this character that I can find, but the amount of Zorro movies I've seen over the years, yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there was like so many Zorro movies that came out. Hell, even Walt Disney loved this character so much, he decided to give him his own TV show that lasted for 2 seasons. To this day, I still watch that show. And if that wasn't crazy enough, I just realized this character still has his own comic book series. This one in particular, written by Sean Murphy. The same Sean Murphy responsible for writing this. And I'm probably gonna go a little bit too far in saying this, but if it wasn't for characters like Zorro, we wouldn't have the modern day superheroes like we do right now. Especially this dude. I mean, hey, if you want to disagree with me, you're fine to do that, but I'm gonna say it right here and right now. If it wasn't for Zorro, this guy wouldn't have existed. And I know somebody out there is gonna say it's the Phantom because technically he is the first costume superhero. Yes, Zorro predates him by 17 years. So again, the original superhero. Argue with your mom. But then after I started back reading a little bit of the Zorro stories, especially in comic books, mostly this one that was based off of the novel written by Isabel Allende, I sat here and thought to myself, God damn it, they should make a Zorro movie. And yeah, I know there's a dozen Zorro stories and there's a dozen movies that exist, but when's the last time we actually got one to pretty much peek behind the mask and to look at the man who wears it? And no, this one doesn't count. I love this movie, but no, this doesn't count. I mean an actual movie that shows who Zorro was before he became the legend that we know him as. Who was Don Diego in his childhood and how did he become a mass vigilante? What gave him the means to fight and what gave him the strength? What gave him the sense of justice and to fight against the injustice and to pretty much protect the oppressed? But look no further because they explained it all in this book, which is based off of this book. Well, first things first, before we take a look at the character of Diego de la Vega, let's first take a look at who were his parents. Diego is basically the son of a rich Spanish landowner named Alejandro de la Vega, who met this woman Regina de la Vega, which her real name is Toypernia, which means daughter of the wolf. And in her younger days, she was part of the Tongva tribe in Spanish California. And one day when she was wounded in battle, she was then rescued and nursed back to health by a Spanish captain, that being Alejandro de la Vega himself. After a while, they fell in love, they got married to him, and then that's when they had Diego de la Vega himself. So yeah, Zorro is half Spaniard and half Native American. From a very young age, Diego pretty much had a fiery passion burning within him. He was not only a brave boy, but he was always ready for action and ready for any type of situation. This is what made him different from his milk brother Bernardo. Until one day on their walk home, Diego comes across a bunch of Spanish soldiers that are whipping a poor girl and forcing her father to walk. Diego enraged tries to stop this and he gets knocked down. And when he tells the soldiers that he is the son of Alejandro de la Vega and he demands answers, the captain pretty much tells him that because the father missed paying his taxes 2 times, he was supposed to be punished for it. But because of the fact that they didn't want to whip him because he needs all his strength to work in order to pay off the taxes, they were going to whip his daughter, so that way anytime when he looks at the scars on her back, it would remind him to work harder and to pay his taxes on time. Realizing that there was nothing that he could do, Diego pretty much pushed Bernardo away and watches as the girl gets whipped in front of him. This is one of the many events that would change Diego's life forever. One day, Diego's mother brought him and Bernardo to meet his grandmother. Diego's grandmother was a wise and powerful shaman and who was known as the White Owl. And she sends the boys off on a sacred spirit quest to which once they come back, they will become men. When Bernardo and Diego split up and they went on their own separate paths, Bernardo had the slight suspicion that he was being followed. Instead of panicking or pretty much losing his mind, he sat down and waited for his pursuer to catch up. As it turns out, his pursuer was none other than a black horse. Give you several guesses who this horse turns out to be. Bernardo was the first one to make it back to the tribe, but then he realized that Diego was not there. And he waited for 10 days and then there was still no sign of Diego. After 2 more days, Bernardo decided that he was going to go and find Diego himself until Diego walks into the tent and surprised him. As it turns out, Diego was stung by a rattlesnake and he was close to death's door, but thanks to his grandmother's healing and medicine, he was pretty much saved. After he recovered, Diego talked about his quest and how things were going, and then every time when he makes a fire, he was always being watched and accompanied by a strange follower. This one being a fox. That fox would wind up saving Diego's life, because later on, Diego would then get bitten by a rattlesnake. And in his delirium, what else did he see but the fox that had been following him? And because of this experience, Diego thought that he failed the challenge until his grandmother said otherwise. She said that that fox saved him by leading him here, and if it wasn't for the fox, he wouldn't be here. The little fox is your totem. You must learn its skill, its cleverness. Your mother is the moon and your home is the cave. Like the fox, you would disguise yourself as you hide in the day and act during the night. And little does Diego know he'll do just that while punishing those that deserve it. Like seriously, if y'all haven't read this comic yet, I can't recommend it enough. Not only is it based off of one of my favorite novels ever written, but it also gives us a deeper dive into the character of Zorro himself. And not only shows us his origin story, but what makes a man behind that mask. I'm just really pissed that they didn't make a movie based off of this book yet. And not only would a movie in today's era give way to Spanish and Native American culture, but bro, it would make such a badass movie. Now, would it compete with something like the Avengers? Probably not. But would it give the character the respect that he deserves? Oh, absolutely. But anyway, that's my rant for today. What do you guys think? Do you think a Zorro movie will work in this day and age? If they came out with a Zorro movie, would you watch it? Or better yet, who's your favorite Zorro actor? As always, leave it down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.